excuse, Mr. Wilder's son came home in a coma. In a statement today, Fred Warner says families reported their son Otto is home, but his injuries
Jackson Park
for
yes, sir.
so long.
I already mentioned the reason
Their
I'm doing it.
explanation of botulism causing the coma, and we don't. There is no excuse for any civilized
We ain't gonna need to have
nation
on this, are we?
his condition.
Not to the callers.
Warren Beer
I mean,
confirmed
you'll
that
hear it right there.
Oh, you will?
said
Okay.
his son
Yeah, we'll see
fell
how you
into
come
a
to the
coma
speakers too.
shortly
So
after he was
everybody should
sentenced
be able
to
to-
15 years hard labor in
I'm
the
sorry.
country.
You go
Kelly
page.
Martin of
Yes.
the University of Cincinnati Medical Center said Otto is in stable
A-L-L-E.
condition but has suffered a severe neurological injury. Britain's Prime Minister is calling for a full public inquiry into the London high-rise fire that killed at least 17 people and injured dozens more. Theresa May says officials owe it to the families of the victims to figure out how yesterday's massive blaze started and why it spread so quickly. Crews are continuing to comb through the burned-out building, but don't expect to find any more survivors. The Southern Baptist Convention condemning the white nationalist movement. Members meeting in Phoenix overwhelmingly approved the resolution, saying Southern Baptists, quote, decry every form of racism, including alt-right white supremacy. The vote came after leaders refused to take up an early version of the resolution. For USA Radio News, I'm Jules McKinney.
Hi, I'm with... The following program is paid for by the Jackson Park Group. The views, opinions, and commentary are solely those of the host, guests, and the Jackson Park Group, and are not endorsed by Whoop Boom Radio, this station, or personnel.
This is a Jackson Park Group production.
Well, we can even skip all the commercial breaks. We'll just go straight for an hour.
Well, you can go to the first one.
Okay.
You can do that first one. Yeah.
If you need a break, we can do it.
No, we just after that one. So.
Is that it?
You can do it.
Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Jackson Park After Dark. This is E.Allison sitting in for my father, Bill Jackson. We're live with a very special brother. If you didn't catch the last week or the week before with Rebecca Crooms, his brother name is Minister Nuri Muhammad. We're going to go straight into it this week. We're going to touch on some topics. I'm just here sitting in, and I'm just happy because my father finally let me take the reins. I guess he trusts me this week, but I guess I'm old enough now. So I've been waiting for this interview for a long time to be able to sit in and speak with this brother. Every time I hear him speak, man, he always amazes me. So y'all in for a treat tonight. We're going to head off to a break. Let them head off, and then we're going to come back. The number is 378-2086, 1-800-578-1240. And this is WHBU, and it's Dr. Jackson Park After Dark.
Yes, sir.
People see.
Put that cameo out on y'all.
I ain't paid.
Turn it up. Yes, all right.
Hi,
He
this
was
is
just on the interview. He
Councilwoman
just did
Beck
the interview
Crooms,
the day before
and I'm
yesterday.
excited to announce my new show.
I was listening
Doing
to
it live with
I think he's
Councilwoman
very
Crooms
black man or
every
something.
Wednesday
His
from 6 to
name
7
Hillary
p.m. on News Talk 1240 a.m. and the new 103.7 FM, WHBU, where we can always agree to disagree. Feel free to give us a call and we can talk about it all. It's your show, Anderson, so let's go.
Hey, this is Jada Clemens. Join me Sundays from 4 to 5 for
Man, you
Journey
brought
with
it last
Jada,
night, but
where
I
we'll
was telling
listen to the
everybody
most
about that.
recent
Oh,
contemporary
man.
and
Yeah, every
inspirational
time, man.
music on News Talk 1240 a.m. and 103.7
I was watching on the way here, matter of fact. Yeah, I was starting watching on the way here.
Every Sunday from 4 to 5 p.m. here on News Talk
Man,
1240
actually,
a.m.
in the beginning, you
and
was
the
speaking
new
about
103.7 FM,
the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You were saying how his
streaming
original
worldwide
name Elijah
at
Poole and everything like that.
WHBU.
And that's kind of something I want to touch on, too.
Join us on the Share with Sherry show on Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on WHBU for some good old everyday conversation on family, career, community, business, relationships, and much more. Practical principles, applicable solutions, and real conversation is what we aim to deliver. So grab a friend, tune in, and let's share.
Share with Sherry.
That's my teacher. I
Thursdays
never
at
heard
6
nobody
on
ask the
WHBU.
minister a question.
This program is paid for by the Jackson
Yeah,
Park
the
Group.
answer.
The content contained in this program is that of the host and the Jackson Park Group, and not this station.
This is a Jackson Park Group production.
All right, we back and we gonna jump straight into it. Student Minister Nuri Muhammad. Brother, I guess you don't need any introduction. I mean, this is amazing, brother. He's traveled all over the world, and I'll never forget, man. I was at 10-10-15, and I remember when you came up, and I was like, man, look at this. I know this brother. I was happy to say that I knew this brother that was up there on the stage, man, and you travel all over the world, man, and just as if last week you were here. Was it last week or the week before?
Last week.
Last week, okay.
Last week, yes, sir.
Okay, you spoke with Rebecca, but man, can you just introduce yourself a little bit, man, and just let them know who you are?
Well, thank you. Before I even do that, I wanted to just tell you, Brother Andreas, and to your father, the great warrior Bill Jackson.
Thank you.
How much we appreciate the legacy of labor that your father has laid down. And I know that as a father, that the greatest thing that a father could ever do is look back and see his son picking up the same struggle with the same spirit that the father had. So I know your father has to be gleaming with joy and heart full of pride to see the great man and husband, father, and activist that you have become. So it is an honor to be here at the Jackson Park After Dark show.
Yes, sir.
I'm Brother Nuri Muhammad. I live in Indianapolis, right down the street. It's a little suburb of Anderson, if you have never heard of Indianapolis. A little suburb of Anderson. But I'm the student minister there at our mosque, where we also have daycare, school, a restaurant, barber, and a beauty shop in the mosque as well. And for some reason, people have taken an affinity for the way that I represent the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the struggle for our people spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and economically. So I get invited around the country, and we normally go maybe to 40 or 50 cities a year, teaching in everywhere: churches, mosques, prisons, colleges, high schools, wherever we can go to help our people. That's what we do.
And that's a great thing, man. That's why I'm so happy to have you here today, man, to come visit us in little old Anderson.
Man,
you know,
it's big Anderson, man.
You know, taking time out your busy schedule and accept this kind of engagement, man, it just makes me, it humbles me, and I'm just so happy to have you, man. And I remember you came down and spoke a couple times, I believe last year, and man, hey, people who never heard you still talking about it. You know,
man, praise be to Allah. It was an honor to be the guest of the great Brother Harrison and the brothers, and we've been able to come for the Soul Fest.
Yes, sir.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, sir.
Soul Fest, last few years, and be able to talk to everybody in the park. But Anderson, even though it is a small town with a small amount of people, you know, our book, Holy Quran, it tells us the power really is not in numbers. You know, really, it's not the size of the group that's in the fight.
That's right.
It's the size of the fight that's in the group.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you do better to have 2 soldiers than 100 hypocrites.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if you got a small town like Anderson, then this small town could produce that small group that got big fight in them.
Yes, sir.
And we can make a change not only in Anderson, but we can bleed over with change to Indianapolis, bleed on down in the Fort Wayne, dip over in the Kokomo, and splash over in the Muncie. It's just hop, skip, and a jump.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is a good spot.
Yes, sir.
Anderson's a good spot.
And speaking of Brother Harrison, man, I had the opportunity. He's actually my cousin too, and he gave man. Listen, for 4 or 5 years straight, this brother brought me into the knowledge of this teaching that you talking about at Allison, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And man, I'm telling you, you got a deep brother, and man, I'm telling you, and he's only a product of what he's been under for so many years. But with that being said, man, I want to ask you a question. A lot of people, when they think of the nation, they think of or the Muslim religion, period. They think of it as a prison religion. You know, they think of it. They don't know how do you become. That's the question I want. How do you become a part of the Nation of Islam? How did you become a part of the Nation of Islam?
Well, that is the unfortunate myth, you know, and the reality is, the truth is that we do have a great appeal and a great transformation success ratio with all types of people. The drug dealer, the drug addict, the gang banger, the brothers and sisters that's incarcerated. That's true. However, they're inside the nation of Islam. Look at the language, nation. See, a nation has inside of it all different kinds of components. You can't just have all soldiers. You got to have some soldiers, some saints, some scholars. You got to have some healers, and you have to have some killers. So inside of a nation, you got all of that. So we're not a monolithic group that every sister you see used to one day in the past be in the streets on drugs or prostituting, and every brother that you see is not a former gang banger, drug user, or drug dealer. But the reformed teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad works just as good on the black psychology inside of a doctor, nurse, engineer, and lawyer as it does on the street brother and sister that's out there. So we have in the nation chemists, doctors, lawyers, judges,
Come on. All right.
politicians, mayors, Muslim mayors in the nation of Islam. So there's not any aspect of nationhood that is a missing ingredient within inside the nation of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad did say this though, Brother Andres. He said that my best followers are in the streets.
Wow.
Now, of course, when he said that, many people said that meant that we don't have all the best ones yet. The group that's here in the 70s, this is it. But we need to go out and get the other ones because they still out there in the streets. But street also represents a certain type of person. When somebody's in the streets, that either means they're homeless, they own drugs, or they selling drugs, or they living as a gangbanger or what. So when you look at the street personality, what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was suggesting to us is that don't you all operate if you are going to go out to build a nation like a fraternity or a sorority. Most fraternities and sororities go out looking for people that already have promise and brand them and put their colors on them to make it look like their organization is what made them what they are.
All right.
But what we do in the nation, we go out into the streets and we find those soldiers that are out there that are operating without aim and purpose. And instead of taking somebody that was decent and making them into something good, as a fraternity and sorority might do, we take those that may be considered, as the Quran calls them, the meanest of the people, the poorest, the street brother and sister, and we turn them into a program that transforms them into being the wise man that you see Malcolm X become with an 8th grade education.
Yes, sir.
The wise man you seen Muhammad Ali become that just was a boxer at first before he met the teachings. The wise man the Honorable Elijah Muhammad became, who didn't even make it out of the 4th grade,
Yes, sir.
but he built an $80 million empire.
Wow.
Didn't leave the 4th grade, but he challenged the world that I give you $10,000 per word if you can prove anything that I teach to be. And did nobody challenge the Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what that tells us is that the transformation program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is for all. And no matter what condition you're in, whether you the doctor, the nurse, the psychologist, or the psychiatrist, or whether you in the streets,
There you go.
the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad will absolutely change your life.
Yes, sir. And it seems like I see the minister all the time. He gets to speak. He goes and speaks to a lot of rappers. He goes to speak to everyone. He doesn't shun anyone. He
Yes.
takes you wherever you at. And I've seen that. And I've seen how he can reach people,
Yes.
you know, that most feel like are unreachable.
That's how Jesus operates. See,
That's right.
we just have our mind fixed on 2 problems when it comes to relation to Jesus. Number 1, we're looking 2,000 years in the past. Number 2, we're looking for a white man. But if he had hair like lamb's wool and feet like brass that were burned in the oven, brass is brown, you burn it, what's it gonna be?
Charcoal.
Black. And lamb's wool is not straight. Lamb's wool is nappy.
That's right.
So that's a nappy-haired black man. He had a complexion like that of an olive, one of the verses say. Well, a black, green, or purple. Well, we know he wasn't green or purple. He had to be black. Now, there's some brothers that are dark enough that you can see a little purple on them.
I'm close.
and that's beautiful black.
That's right.
That ain't no bad thing. That's the beautiful black. That is the original of the original. See, black is not a color. Black is the essence from which all color comes from. And when you can find that sister and that brother that has that deep, dark darkness, blackness to themselves, that you can almost see the blue or the purple in their skin when you look at them whenever it gets kissed by the sun, you're looking at an original man and an original woman.
Come on.
So because we're thinking 2,000 years behind and we're looking for Michelangelo's cousin that he painted, instead of the Jesus that's described in the Bible, we don't realize what we're looking at whenever we see a man like Farrakhan, who's a black man, that does the work of Jesus right inside of our midst. Look at what Jesus said. He told the disciples, he said, go over there and untie for me that coat and that ass. And if anyone comes and asks you what you're doing, let them know that the master has need of them.
Wow.
Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the coat is a baby horse, which represents that learned of our people, while the ass or the donkey is the unlearned. So that represents the street personality. So inside the nation, if you're going to really be a follower of Jesus, if you're going to really build the kingdom of God, we don't just need all the learned people. Yeah, we need the coats, but we also need the ass. We need the donkeys too.
Yes,
and when we got the coats and the donkeys, the educated and the street personality, all operating in unity with one aim, one God, and one destiny, it's nation time.
Come on, man. That's what I like to hear. Well, and speaking of, man, it's the minister, Farrakhan. Okay, it's a lot of people who run away from the teachings of the minister and everything because of what they believe he represents. When they hear the word Muslim, they automatically shut him out. Now, true enough, if they listen, like a lot of arguments I have, and people try to down the minister and say, man, it's hate teaching or it's this, that, and other. You know, they never. I say, what's hate? What? Tell me something about it that's hateful.
Yeah, what did he say that was hate?
They never bring up any. They can't.
If they did, all I can say is that he was talking about hating alcohol. He's talking about hating crack cocaine, hating heroin, hating lying, hating stealing.
Yes, sir. My question is though, how do you bridge the gap? I guess as they call it, religious set tripping. How do you bridge the gap between like maybe the Christian religion and the Muslim religion to let them know that this is not hate teaching? I believe this with all my heart. If the minister was called himself a Christian and was in the pulpit, the people listening to him with everything he said, they would be following right now. But since he calls himself a Muslim.
And what they don't realize is that them best lectures they heard from their pastor, they got from the minister. I ain't gonna say every single time, but a whole lot of the time. They are studying the minister, and they are re-cooking it, and they will stand and say, the Lord told me last night. They just didn't tell you that the Lord told me via YouTube. And addressed by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's the one that said this, and I'm gonna tell y'all.
Yes, sir.
But the truth is this. You know, we do have too much spiritual set tripping, too much religious gangbanging among our people. Jesus said it from his own mouth. He said, I have sheep that are not of this flock. So he's letting people know, even if you say you really think you're with him, that don't ever think that the few that are with me or the many that are with me have a monopoly on the truth. No, we need to get some basic wino logic. Even the drunk got more common sense than most of the religious people.
Come on.
Because the drunk don't care about the label. Huh? Come on, Brother Andres, he don't care. All he want to know is when he turn that bottle up, does it do what it's supposed to do?
That's right.
In fact, the drunk's so disinterested in the label that he put a brown bag around it. You don't never know what the drunk drink when he walking down the street. He got the brown bag covering it because he don't care about the label. So maybe we need to take some notes from the wino logic. And stop being so caught up in the label or the symbol, and let's look at the substance.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You
sir.
said 5 plus 2. I said 6 plus 1. So
7.
she said 4 plus 3. And then somebody else said 7 plus 0. We can sit here and argue over formula, but at the end of the day, what's the product of 7 plus 0, 4 plus 3, 6 plus 1, and 5 plus 2? 7.
Yes,
So results is what we should be about. You cannot dismiss the fact that when you look at and listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he is in his personage a entity bigger than religion. And guess what? Breaking news. God is bigger than your church.
Come on.
But guess what? He's bigger than your mosque. He's bigger than your denomination. God is bigger than religion.
Come on.
You think that you're going to be able to keep the big supreme being in your little denomination?
Yes, sir.
The fact that it's called a denomination is negative in and of itself.
Yes, sir.
Do you know that the word denomination, if you break it down, prefix D means to divide. Nami in Latin means name and nation. So a denomination is to divide a nation by a different name. So every time we walk around, Brother Andreas, claiming some label that we chose ourselves, not what God chose. The label God chose for you is male, female, black. That's what he chose you. He says in his word, he doesn't say in David, Psalms 82 verse 6, ye are all Christians, children of the Most High God. Ye are all what? Gods. Children of the Most High God. So the truest definition of self is that you are a God with a lowercase g that has to live your life trying to practice the principles of the capital G until you become one with that capital G. You want to climb the mountain on the left side, I want to climb it on the right side. It don't make no difference what side of the mountain you climb. The question is, are you getting to the top?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
that's what religion is supposed to be.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, Brother Andreas, I don't know how it is in Anderson, but in most places, religion has become a scam. It's a hustle. It's big pimping. It's taking advantage of people's pain so that you can sell them hope for money, but not give them no real transformation. So the minister said this story. He said, you know, us sitting around arguing over religion, he said, we're like 3 men at the bank of a river while a man is drowning. Here you are coming us with your little Muslim rope, throw it out there, it's too short to save the man drowning. Here the Christian come, he casts his rope out there, it's too short to save the man drowning. Here the Jew comes, he casts his rope, it's too short to save the man drowning. Now they got one or two options. Either they can stand on the shore and argue over whose rope is the best, or they can use some common sense and tie all 3 ropes together and save that man.
Come on.
So right now, the Muslim, Jew, and the Christian young black male, young black female, we are losing them in the streets right now.
Yes, sir.
So if they are drowning in the sea of sin, we look like hypocrites
Come on.
to be arguing with one another over religiosity and methodology and psychology whenever we talking about which rope is the best. While our children are drowning in the sea of sin. Now let's tie all the ropes together.
Yes, sir.
Save the young warriors that are drowning in the sea of sin, and then after we get them out, let's start talking about these ropes.
Yes, sir. Because I mean, as far as like when the police are killing us, that's one question they never ask.
Yeah, they don't.
You a Muslim?
No, they don't. They didn't ask Trayvon Martin whether he went to the mosque or the church.
Oh no. Hey, you black.
Yes.
So you know. That's why we behind, man. I see a lot of times, man, it's a lot of self-hate that goes on,
Yeah.
you know. And that's one thing I want to also speak about is self-hate in our own community. We go to anybody else's shop other than ours. You spoke a little bit about this on Rebecca's show, but if we witness it here in Anderson, I'm sure you witnessed it in Indianapolis as well, where we'll walk right past our shop.
Well, it's a psychological condition that is the product of slavery. It's not written down as an official disease, but how can you go to Iraq for 2 months, 3 months, and come back, and if you were there and it was a conflict, you can go to the doctor and they would diagnose you with PTSD. post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, how could we be a people that went through 400 years of slavery, suffering, and death? We lost our name, culture, religion, moral ways, folkways, norms, God, and land.
Wow.
Not for no 3 months in Iraq, but for 400 years we were worked as from can't see morning to can't see night. So we got post-traumatic slave disorder, plantation psychosis. We are the victims of the Willie Lynch curse. So because of that, mathematics, we have in our mind this concept that we think that white ice or ice from a white man's store is going to be colder than ice from a black man's store, and their sugar is going to be sweeter.
Come on.
Even though they got it all from the same earth.
There you go.
So because of that, we feel like that if I go and get it from them, I actually have done something. And this is not a conscious thing. This is a subconscious thing. They call it, in sociology, they call it premature cognitive commitment, which says that if you take any object, animal, insect, or human, and train it in a certain way as a child, when it grows up, it will keep itself locked into that mode and won't even realize it. It will become what they call its second nature. Wow. So they've taken fish, put it in an aquarium, put glass in the middle. Every time the fish hit the glass, they turn around. At a certain point, remove the glass, and they'll never swim farther.
Yes, sir.
Took elephant, tied it to a rope. Elephant, as a child, couldn't break the rope. Baby, didn't get grown. It can now, but it won't break it. Flea, plastic on the jaw.
Yes, sir.
Flea's got the highest vertical of any species on 36-inch vertical,
wow,
which is equal to an average human being jumping 15 or 20 flights of stairs from off the ground vertical. But you put them in a little jar that ain't but 6 inches tall, put plastic on top of it. Every time they jump, they hit the head, move the plastic. At a certain point, they won't even jump any higher.
Wow.
Premature cognitive commitment. So what was imposed on us as slaves didn't take place for a few days, 400 years. We now have premature cognitive commitment.
Yes, sir.
So we are more loyal to them than we are to one another subconsciously.
Yes, sir. Oh, we got a caller on the line. Go ahead, caller.
I want to add something that I think is our biggest problem as black people in post-slavery.
Yes.
That's Christianity. You know, we were not Christians. We were the slaves of Christians. And with all due respect to people out there who practice Christianity with such fervor, they didn't even think you can go to heaven because they didn't believe you had a soul.
Yeah.
You know, and that doctrine of Christianity is what maintains the invisible chain to this day. We will never be fully free until we abandon that Christianity. And to come together as one is the biggest obstacle is black Christians who are wanting to love their enemy and will go against you for that love.
Well, thank you, my brother. We really appreciate that call. I think that it is very important to my brother that called and Brother Andreas and those in the listening audience that we understand that there is a fundamental difference between the teachings of Jesus and Christianity. The organized religion that has been given to the people under the name of Christianity, it shouldn't even be called Christianity. It should be called churchianity. Because it's not as much Christ in it as it is church.
Wow.
So when you go to church, there's more emotion than there is education. When you go to church, there's more of the pagan practices of Rome that are indoctrinated. That's what communion comes from. It comes from the vampires in Transylvania, drinking blood. It comes from the cannibals in the caves, eating flesh. You see what I'm saying? So when you understand, to my brother, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. He said, if the black preacher would wake up and began preaching the truth, our people would be free overnight. Wow. Then he said this, if our people knew the true knowledge of Jesus, we would be free overnight. So what's missing is that we have to take church out of the anarchy and put Christ back in it. Wow. And if the pastors would teach, thus saith the Lord, instead of following the organized script that the slave master gave, for control purposes as a slave-making system than just the pure, unadulterated teaching of the word of Jesus would absolutely set our people free. So to those in the church, to the pastors, you don't have to shut your church down, but we do have to lift it up.
Come on.
And the way we lift it up is by cutting out the entertainment and putting some education in there.
Come on.
Taking out the hooping and the hollering and so much music, and let's start putting the power of the message of Jesus in it. Jesus didn't have no band with him. I didn't ever see Jesus in the scripture with a choir. I never read anything about Matthew on the drums and Peter on the tambourine and Luke is going to do soprano and
yes, sir.
You know, I never. They didn't have their solo parts, and no, they were called disciples.
Come on.
And the base word of disciple is discipline. And then whenever they graduated from disciple, their next title was apostle. A disciple is one that needs someone outside of them to discipline them, but an apostle is one that's disciplined from the inside out. So the church shouldn't be producing just worshipers, just believers and followers. It should be producing disciples, apostles, and men and women that are a reflection of God. We should see Jesus all over Anderson for everybody to go to church. Everybody go to church should be a little Jesus walking around the city.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got another call on the line. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, you're correct on that statement, but you also have to remember that was in the book of Acts when the Bible said they were called Christians.
That's right.
That's because they were identified of being something different than the people that were surrounded them. So you are right. I think we do need to get back to the teaching. I'm always emphasizing that because it's very important for us to be taught. You know, the spiritual life, there's a difference between the flesh and the spirit. So therefore we have to be taught from the spiritual standpoint.
That's right.
That we are first created. You have to understand we have to go back, way back. We were first created spiritual beings.
Well, you teaching, my brother. You teaching. And that's what I think that we're saying. See, the spirituality is missing from religion. It's too much religion and not enough spirituality. So,
I want to, agree with you on that end.
Yes, sir.
But we also must come to agreement that as Jesus spoke, he said that he is the truth and the life. Mm-hmm. No man could come unto the Father except by him.
That's right.
Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the light. It didn't speak of no other individual.
That's right.
It only spoke of one. So
that's the truth. As they would say, if you was in church, you preaching to the choir, brother.
Yeah.
We are 100% on the same page, and I just would remind us too, my brother on the call and the listening audience, that remember when they called the followers of Jesus, he named them disciples and apostles, but it was the enemies of Jesus in Antioch that called them Christians, and they gave them the title Christian as a mocking term, considering them to be personality worshipers. So we have to get back. The original symbol of Jesus' followers was never a cross. It was a fish. But somehow the cross came in. And when you study it, you go back to the Nicene Creed and you read about the man Constantine who didn't like the Christians at all, and he was executing them. But he had Arius and Athenius, two strong followers of Paul. They were creating civil war, and they had power. So next thing you know, Constantine said he was on a ship one day and he had a vision, and he seen a what he said was really a upside down sword, which is what a cross looks like. And he seen a snake climbing up it, and he had written across it, he said, I seen the Latin words, in hoc signo vinces, in this sign we conquer. Not in this sign we save. Not in this sign we teach. Not in this sign we empower. But in this sign we conquer. And it was in 325 AD that the fish was abandoned and the cross was there. And then disciple and apostle was abandoned as the label for those who follow Jesus, and Christian became the new label. No, let's go back to apostle. Let's go back to disciple. Let's go back to the fish. Because that's our job. Our job is to fish people out of the sea of sin.
Yes, sir.
And get them into our churches or our movements, which should be like an aquarium or an incubator. Bring them to a clean environment that breathes better air. Get them back nursed strong so that when they leave the church, they can be out there in a world like we live in and they can say what Jesus said. I'm in the world,
That's why we.
but I'm not of that world.
To allowing the Spirit to lead us more than allowing our fleshly desires, our fleshly wants to, so that's why we have to get back to the teaching as you stated, and allowing the Spirit of God to lead us and to make us to something that we should have been familiar with, but because of like you said, because of the entertainment and the other things have gotten, which is the enemy. The Bible said that Satan comes to kill, steal, destroy. Otherwise, Satan comes to destroy us. He comes to divide us. And that's why Jesus said we must know the Spirit. Try the Spirit. See who they are.
Thank you, my brother.
So that's why we have to get back.
That's right.
To what can come first, which is spiritual.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my brother. Well, yeah. Well, yeah, that was a powerful point, brother. I appreciate that. A lot of times, though, what I see happens in the black community, a lot of times, is we find we can agree with 99% of what is said, and then we find that one thing that we have to argue about just to cause division. And that's what I see a lot of times that we need to, that's a problem we need to fix.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, man, we agree up on so much, but we can't ever come together because they just find that one little sticking point.
And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us this, Brother Andreas. He said this. He said, study the white man. He is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. He works together in a collective manner. You must do the same. See, the same way that you said that if 100 things are presented, and if there's 100 things presented to white people by white people, if they disagree with 99, but they find one thing they agree on, all of them will come and invest time, talent, and treasure, mind, money, and muscle to make sure that thing gets done.
Yes, sir.
But with us, if a black person submits 100 things to another black person, and we agree with 99 and just find one that we don't, we ain't going to help do nothing.
That's right.
So something's wrong with that mathematics, and I think it speaks to what you said earlier, the deeply rooted self-hatred. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the knowledge of God and the knowledge of self is akin to one another. The minister said it like this. He said, to know God is to know yourself.
Come on.
And to know yourself is to know God. So one of the things that will help us to recover from the residual effects of white supremacist indoctrination that produces as its reverse, equal, and opposite reaction, black inferiority complex,
yes, sir,
or self-hatred, is that we have to create a home program for our children where they are baptized mentally into the knowledge of themselves.
Yes,
I said baptized, didn't I?
yes, sir, that's what you said.
Because Jesus said it. As my brother said, get out. See, we got to go back to spirituality. Jesus said, I was baptized in the water, but ye shall be baptized in the Spirit. So why are we still getting dipped in the baby swimming pools? If he said, I'm just asking. and if we've been doing it for all these years, how good is this working?
Come on.
Everybody I know that been baptized, there ain't no transformation come from dipping in the water. The only thing different between the man before he got baptized and after is that he was a dry Negro and he a cold and wet one after he got dipped. So see, spiritual baptism is what we need.
Yes, sir.
Not dipping the body, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. No, dip that mind,
yes, sir,
into some knowledge,
yes, sir,
wisdom, and understanding.
Yes, sir.
And I'm saying that we got to have a home program for our children that baptizes their minds into a knowledge of self. Now, there's many facets to knowledge of self. One aspect of it is find people that look like you, that accomplished great things in the past, and study them and see what they went through, the vicissitudes of life, the trials, the tribulations, and then they still became.
Yes,
And that'll
sir,
let you know, well, if they can do it in the past, I can do it in the present.
Yes, sir.
And then remember this: anything you learn about God, you're learning about yourself.
Come on.
If you're created in the image and the likeness of God, you're not a duplicate of God, you're a replica.
There you go.
I mean, you don't just look like, but you have the power and the function of what you are a copy of. If we are made in the image and likeness of God, every time God looks at us, he sees himself. Problem is, when we look at ourselves, do we see him?
There you go.
See, there's the problem. There's something I was thinking earlier today, Brother Andres. Tell me what you think of this. I said that we are not unsuccessful as a people because of who we are. We are unsuccessful as a people because of who we think we're not.
That's deep.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So if we really knew our true identity, we are children of God, we are God's, we're made in the image and likeness of God, that Jesus said, let this mind, or Paul said, let this mind be in you, the same mind Jesus had, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if I can think like Christ, who thought like God, and if I, as a man, think that I am a God. See, when you start operating like that, then you don't think weak and defeated.
To me, it seemed like that's what our what I consider our, because I remember you saying our former oppressor, we speak things to existence. So our former oppressor, they already know our potential.
Yes.
And that's what they fear, you know. And I mean, if we knew what they knew, then it'd be a problem.
well, the thing is that they still are oppressing us, in the sense that they control the political, social, and economic systems of the world. And it's still a law that we got to work twice as hard to get half as much.
Yes, sir.
It's still a law, unwritten, that we have to what was I thinking? Work twice as hard to get half as much. Oh, we still the last hire, we still the first fire.
Right.
It's still and they get a kick out of telling us no when we go to get anything. So we still are dealing with an oppressive society.
Yes, sir.
But what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, he said this. He said, I will make you so wise that you would have to tie the white man around your pinky finger to even remember that he exists.
Wow.
All he's saying to us is that don't ever think that there's some force outside of you. I don't care how big you think they are, they're stopping you from making progress. He said we must get our own foot out of the way of our salvation.
Yes, sir.
So ain't nobody tripping us. If we tripping ourselves.
Come on. We got another call on the line. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, you know, the thing about if we try to baptize the mind of our kids and try to make them aware of themselves so that they can grow up and be able to deal with the things that they're going to have to deal with as a black person and understand the things that you're going to have to go twice as far, twice as fast just to get there at the same time. Or even if you get there at the same time, you might not get the same dime, you might get a nickel.
There you go.
But when we indoctrinate ourselves in that and we get knowledge of ourselves and we start preaching it amongst ourselves, we have the elements like I spoke of earlier, the black Christians, who that makes them feel very uncomfortable. And because of the indoctrination of that Christianity that masses got their mind saturated with, they will do what they got to do to undermine that because it makes them feel uncomfortable because you're teaching knowledge yourself. And sometimes people's minds so closed that when they get hit with the knowledge of themselves, they look at you as an enemy. And now I'm talking about not outside of our community, I'm talking about within our own community.
Yes, sir. You right.
What you say last night?
When you get to speaking about knowledge yourself, and you hit them with some indisputable facts that if they got any type of intellect and they're going to be intellectually honest, they have to agree with you. In order for them to agree with you, they have to go against everything Massa has taught them to believe through the years, and that's a hard sense to climb.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What were you saying about
what did you say yesterday evening? You said children do what's natural.
Yes.
And go ahead.
There's a quote I had heard the minister quote. He said, children do what is natural until they are taught what is normal.
Mm-hmm.
And normal is whatever other people are doing, what's popular. So you know, Allah God, He didn't make us Christians or Jews. He made us to submit our will to do His will. He made us to be in His image and his likeness. We chose these spiritual systems to try to help us to achieve that objective. Problem. See, religion, if you break it down in this etymological root, prefix re means to do again. Religion in the Greek means to get to God. So religion is supposed to be a spiritual process that gets you back into being God. But if the goal of whatever you are a part of that you call a religion is to produce a worshiper, a follower, a saint, or just an apostle, or just a disciple, or a companion, then you are part of something that's not even a real religion. Because the real religion is supposed to not get you into the apostleship and worshiper and follower. It's supposed to get you back in the oneness with God himself. So I would suggest this, that the Bible is really one of the best black history books that you ever read, if you want to read it, right? See, it tells us that Moses stuck his hand into the bosom of the Lord, and when he took it out, it was turned white. So it had to go in black if it turned into white. Right. So now we got him as a historical black figure that we can look at. Abraham, when he was in Egypt, they thought he was an Egyptian. Egypt in Greek is Ieptis, which means land of black and burnt-skinned people. So if they thought he was an Egyptian, Egypt in Africa, land of black and burnt-skinned people, then Father Abraham, he's one of us. Job said, my skin is black. Yep. Solomon is the wisest man in the Old Testament. He said, I'm black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. And then Solomon was also David's son, right? Right? So he's the seed of David. Didn't Jesus say he was the seed of David too? That's right. So if Solomon's seed of David black, Jesus is another seed of David, what's going to make... So we've got David, we got Solomon, we got Jesus, we got Job, we got Abraham, we got Moses, and many, many more. So I think, my brother, that even if those that are in the church, if they would teach the black theology perspective and understand that if... Oh, let me put it like this. This is a Caucasian teacher from 1920s. He's the father of all of the self-help gurus. He's called Robert Collier. He wrote a book called Secret of the Ages in 1926. This is where all of the great self-help gurus get stuff from. This man said in this book that he has found that education is 3/4 encouragement and only 1/4 information. So what you get when you learn about people that look like you come out of there with encouragement.
Yes, sir.
And that's 3/4 of the educational process. So just teach it.
Yes, sir. But
teach it from the truth that it is and the black perspective that is written of.
Yes, sir. We got another call on the line. Go ahead, call it.
Yeah, our first job is, and our task is, how do we get this generation of young kids to be turned more on to spirituality than rapality? Otherwise, rap music has, and I blame some of the rap artists. We got to start attacking those who attack, and that you talk about. They're attacking our kids by negative words, by negative material things. So we have to find a way, some solution. How do we transform those? Because a lot of kids are in the rap music. You know, they're in the rap music. So how, as you talked about pastors and all this, how, with the help of God, the only way you can get this changed is to get these kids, teaching them more about spiritual reality.
Yeah. Well, this is a very good point, my brother, and think about this Bible verse. Smite the shepherd, scatter the flock. In other words, whatever you do to what's in front, you can have the rest of the body affected by it or go the same direction. Master Farad Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teacher, said this: people are like fish, they travel in schools. If you turn one lead fish, all of the fish would go. So what we need to do, we don't need to really focus on the fish. We need to focus on the leader. And right now, if you go into any social media forum and you look up these hip-hop artists, and then you look on there and say, and you look in the category called followers. See, what is a leader? Somebody with some followers. If you call yourself a leader and ain't nobody following you, you lying to yourself. But when you go and you see 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers behind these artists and entertainers, then know that you're looking at a leader. Now, what I'm saying is this. Music is the most effective methodology of teaching people on the face of the earth.
As we said, yes,
look at this. The minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this. He said, one good rap song is worth more than 1,000 of my speeches.
Wow. And
that's saying something, because all of the transformation that you see in the thousands of us that say we are with him is a result of listening to his lectures. So that's a powerful thing to say.
Yes, sir.
And I guarantee you, if you did the mathematics, that the average person that has reached the transformation rate of a Muslim in the nation has probably not even heard 1,000 lectures. But one song can do with 1,000. So that's power. So what we have to do is what the minister has been doing. He has to give them some new wisdom to rap about.
Right, like I talk to a lot.
So if you got liberation lyrics,
when I let them know about certain things, and I talked to this one gentleman, and he was talking to me about his drinking, and I said, "Man, I'm gonna tell you something." I said, "How many times you go support, whether it be a Budweiser or a liquor? I mean, what kind of liquor you buy? I said, how many times you get a check for them to say, I thank you for buying my liquor?
Right.
I said, you don't get nothing."
Well, this is the thing. I want us to angle less on the artists and more on the record labels who are the gatekeepers. See, for every one skilled with wordplay foul rapper that you see publicly marketed and advertised and given a deal, there's 1,000 of them that are conscious that have the same skill level, but they never get a chance to get a record deal and be seen. So what we have to do is encourage these brothers that are in the game now, that instead of buying the chain and buying all the luxuries, let's get our own distribution and our own label, and let's sign people that are willing to kick liberation lyrics and have revolutionary rap songs. And I think that if we could do that the same way that for us to learn the fundamentals of reading and the fundamentals of writing, which is called the alphabet, how do we learn it? Was it a song?
Yes, it was.
Yep.
The same way that we all learn the alphabet with a song, we can learn how to change our people with a song. So let's focus on turning these brothers and sisters, and that's what the minister has been doing. So keep your eyes and ears open. You're going to see a new breed of artists come in the very, very near future. As they get more content, the cultural revolution has begun, and it will be fulfilled.
Yes, sir. Thank you, caller. I appreciate your call. And that's what I was going to say, too, because the minister, I remember him speaking to that. He's not, like the caller alluded to, trying to stop him, but he's just shaping and forming. He said this is the Joshua generation, is what I heard the minister say. And he said the most powerful and the greatest generation that ever produced. So,
because we were fearless.
That's right. That's right. So we got to shape that anger or shape that and make it something that's beneficial to us. But man, I got a question I got to ask you before we go off the air.
Yes, sir.
And it's something I've been wanting to know. A lot of people know about the minister because of the YouTube videos and know about the nation because of YouTube videos. I was at 10/10/15, and I'm telling you, it was over 1 million some odd people
That's
there.
right.
And what I found out is when I got home, it was no media coverage of that. Why is it that they blacked out the minister? It's kind of rhetorical because I know,
Well, this is the unfortunate reality. See, what the enemy has learned, if you go and study the COINTEL profiles, there's a section where they deal with the strategies and tactics that they're using on the nation. They make a statement in there that we can't give the Nation of Islam any attention or publicity, not even negative.
Wow.
He said because even the negative publicity generates curiosity among their people, and when they go out of curiosity, they join.
Wow.
So what we are looking at is a conspiracy of silence against the minister. They're trying to keep mainstream media controlled by the mainstream gatekeeping Illuminati, Bilderberger, Trilateral Commission, Zionists, and the synagogue of Satan. That is who control that. So we are thankful that we're able to cut out the middleman now, because social media is becoming the new media at this point. And all you got to do is Google Farrakhan, and you'll find multiple messages
62 years
that you can listen to. 62 years on the battlefield fighting for us before we even were born. Sometime before our mamas and them was even born. That's how long.
Hey, well, we want to thank y'all for listening to this very special edition of Jackson Park After Dark, and I thank again my brother Nuri Muhammad for coming. Thank you ever so much, man. Hey, this is gonna go down in the history books for me. I'll be able to tell my kids one day, hey, I interviewed this brother.
So thank you so much, sir.
So thank everyone for listening, and we'll be back next week with Bill Jackson on Jackson Park After Dark.
Good job, Daddy.
Thank you, baby.